got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though. Cocaine in my nose, got rose in my cup though. Started climbing my pole, she got me locked in on cup though.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back. George Morgan here at your service. It's PSGL. It's Wednesday night. It's Spain tonight as well. Lots on the table, lots of battling. The title contest is still alive and kicking. And Jack, it's only taken us 10 rounds. We're on the 11th. It's all to play for.
Boromant goes on the inside and takes the lead on the final lap of the race. Now it's side by side between Boromant and Warner, but Boromant's got the inside.
Star here in this phenomenal race. Cameron Dowd looking to take P2 in his very first PSGL F1 PC race. Incredible to say the least. You see there, Putin still leads. 1.5 seconds. DRS is the name.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back here to PSGL for the PC F2 Championship. Round 4 here at Sin City, the City of Lights, but I'm sure we all know it as Las Vegas. And alongside me tonight is the wonderful Chris Buxton. Chris, Las Vegas, very new to the game. I believe you've also commentated here before. So what are your thoughts about this track? What do you think we'll see tonight with this great grid of drivers?
Chaos is what we'll see. It's an absolute brutal circuit. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, brothers and sisters. A great pleasure to be back here at PSGL. And yeah, I've commented once this circuit. And yeah, we blew through the safety car allocation in the first half of the race. So it's going to be very, very testing. It being a street circuit, of course, the barriers are waiting with open arms. The first half of the circuit, very, very twisty and telly. And we know how close this field is. So you know there's going to be a lot of kind of punching, counter-punch, a lot of pressure application for the drivers to make that one crucial mistake or then someone to try and slip through. But the problem with that is if somebody does make a mistake, which inevitably somebody will, they could take several cars with them. So yeah, today could be absolutely fantastic. I could be happily proven wrong. I suspect we're in for quite a bit of broken carbon fibre, though.
Yeah, something that's most likely probably going to happen, especially the fact it's a new circuit as well. The drivers don't all know how to drive it well, especially when it comes to racing conditions with the braking and obviously with the grip on these harder compounded tyres. Most drivers don't really do much race pace, they tend to just do a bit of qualifying pace, so qualifying practice. So yeah, it could be difficult for some. Others could go perfectly fine, but I think there will be a struggle. But we'll have a look at the standings as well while we've got them on our screens. As you can see, Max Wiesel leads them away in the Red Bull. A completely different story for him since the start of last season, where I believe around this point of the season he was down in P15 in the standings. So he leads them away from Tamás Gell in second, who, remember, had that bit of a controversial victory in Hungary where his teammate led him through at the final corner. He goes second, 2 points behind Max, and then 2 points behind Tamás is Joost Noordijk. If you remember him as well last season, got 2 wins on the bounce, but unfortunately had penalties for both, so he missed out on lots of points. This season, however, he's coming straight into it, and he's doing very good so far. He's only 2 points back from Tamás, and a little bit back from him. He's Togo Hardy, impressing us all so far this season in fourth. Louis Welch as well in the top 5, followed by Theo McKee, Yannick Schmitz, Lenny Pinter, Kean Gondup, and Daniel Kjelton in the top 10. Then we look at the constructors, something we don't always focus on, but Red Bull are absolutely flying. They've got over 21 gap or something like that. 2 Alpine in second, and then you got AlphaTauri and Haas third on 22 each. Then a little bit further from that, you got Alfa Romeo on 16. Then you got McLaren on 14. Williams just behind them on 12. Then Aston Martin right behind on 9. Then Ferrari, very disappointing, only having 2 points this season. Mirko Soriano, the only one in the top 20 of this championship not to have scored 1 point. So a big shame for him. Obviously, he's also not here tonight, so there's no more time for him to prove us right here around the streets of Las Vegas. And then the Mercedes, very dismal season. They've got 0 points. Not a good start for them at all. But Rich and Jacobs, if you remember last night, in E2s, did take victory around Monaco, so maybe street circuits are his favourite thing. Maybe he's a little bit like Sergio Perez. He loves the street circuits. So he could definitely be someone we watch out for tonight. But yeah, looking through the calendar, Chris, I don't think you've been here this season. So what do you think of it, this calendar this season?
Oh, it's a belter. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how this season unfolds. Also, that's 18 points up top. There's the gap between Red Bull and Alpine. But the rest of the field separated by next to nothing. So absolutely fantastic to see. So yeah, we've got Las Vegas tonight. Very much an unproven ground here for PSGL. A lot of drivers very unfamiliar with the circuit, as you say. And that's the thing that is the biggest test for the drivers, is being able to drive reactionary rather than relying on muscle memory. This is not ingrained in the racing DNA, of course, fresh this year. So it's not a circuit that everybody knows backwards, forwards, and what have you. So there's going to be a lot of learning, a lot of, as I say, a fair few mistakes as well. But then we got Austria next time out, and that is, I love Austria. I absolutely love that circuit. So much flat out, but again, there's so many key moments of trying to just get that little bit of an edge over the person you're driving against, because there aren't an awful lot of braking zones in Austria, but the ones they have got are going to be very, very key to overtaking. Monza after that, Monza needs no introduction, does it? It is one of these brilliant circuits we all know well. And then we go into the twisty and testing Singapore. So, yeah, that's going to be a real test. It's been a while since that one's come up. Then we break for the winter, and then we kick off the new year with Catalonia, again another classic. Then back to the States from Miami, so again a lesser known circuit, a bit more so than obviously Las Vegas. Then it's good old Silverstone, a track that everybody has ingrained in their memory, and what a finisher! Bahrain, to see this finish out, love it, can't wait.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is probably one of the best calendars we've had since I started commentating back in season 30. It's a really, really lovely calendar. But less about all the other rounds. We're back here now for round 4. We're going to go back to the game screen once it loads up, and you can see the drivers pop out onto track, and there we are. So 18 drivers today, missing 2 unfortunately. Obviously we couldn't find any reserves in time, so it will be obviously this 18 grid. And just to confirm, Grandpa is Max Wiesel. He hasn't changed his name back yet, so he's still TF10 Grandpa. So for anyone asking who's Grandpa, it is Max Wiesel. And then we got someone called Gerinho. I believe that would be Jerry Van Bussel, I'm sure. Well, I hope. Otherwise, I don't know who it is.
You are correct. It is Jerry Van Bussel. The other AlphaTauri would be Tycho Hardy, of course. And look at this. Now, this is really indicative of new tracks that everybody maximising their track time. Everybody, or certainly a vast majority of the field, have just flooded out. None of this kind of waiting for the track to rubber in or waiting for others to get out there first. So many people have broken cover. In fact, only, 5 cars? Never mind, 4 cars have remained in the pits. So, and that's right at the beginning of qualifying. So, who is first out? I think it's one of the Aston Martins that is out there first. It isn't. It's Bradley Holder that was first out on circuit. So, not that it really gives him an advantage, but it does mean that he isn't jostling for position. Look, coming through turns 7, 8, 9. Look how close all that field is to trying to find space. Just one car to break cover. It's Louis Welch, interestingly, in the Red Bull, that has not come out on circuit. Maybe he's a little bit more confident of the twists and turns of the Las Vegas Strip. And then you've got this almighty great big straight along the back of the Las Vegas Boulevard to the Dome. Then turns 14, 15, 16 in rapid succession. And then on to the start finish. And now Louis Welch has decided to get out and get on with the job. So it will be Bradley Holden first to get out. The TF10 Grandpa, that did make me laugh. I did see that on social media earlier today, and I thought, oh, we're going to play the age game, are we? All right. That must make me, the commentary dinosaur, in which case. And speaking of TF10 Grandpa, he's decided to flex his right foot. He's actually just gotten ahead of Bradley Holden. He's coming through the last few turns, so he's going to be Max Wiesel, championship leader, starting the ball rolling for qualifying.
Yes, heading down now in towards this first corner. The first time here at PSGL we experienced the Las Vegas circuit, so down in towards turn 1. Got to be very careful on the brakes. It is very, very low grip around this circuit, of course. Down to 4th gear, then go wide, get back on the power as you come through turn 2, then back to the right as you come through turn 3. Also very tricky not to end up losing the car there, but very good from Max Wiesel to keep it nice and comfortable through. Now heading down this bit of a back straight in towards turn number 5. Brake around that 100-metre board, throw the car in down to 4th gear, get back on the power ASAP as you head now down into this blind chicane section at turns 6, 7 and 8. Very difficult to get the braking zone right through here. Just want to turn the car in, use that curve for rotation, of course, to pull the car in back to the right. You come back to the left now for turn number 9. Now you head down, this is Sander Avenue, and you'll head in towards this bit of a twisty section at turns 10, 11, to the right, back to the left, and it's pretty much flat out this whole section, even though it's quite a big corner. Then you'll head into the braking zone down at turn number 12, throw the car in back to the left, get back on the power ASAP as you can as you head down now down the Las Vegas Boulevard in towards turn number 14. and we'll see what Max Wiesel can do as he heads through. And this is a very, very long straight. There's not much to talk about down this whole straight, but maybe we could see a bit of teamwork between the two Red Bulls as Louis Welch is going to be waiting at the braking zone, but I don't think Max is going to be there in time for a slipstream. No, he's not. So no slipstream there for Max Wiesel into the braking zone at turn number 14. Yet again, another horrible chicane. Want to bounce that curb on the inside, get back on the power, and we'll see what lap time Max Wiesel manages to complete around this circuit.
That we will. This flat-out left-hander is all that our senior citizens got to deal with. A 130.7 is the opening gambit. You can expect that to come down. That's still a fairly decent opening round, as Bradley Holden for 31.1 in the Aston. Paul Eschemeyer 30.8. Tycho Hardy 31.1 as well. Fair few laps being set now. And Girino, King Goendorp, just 4,000 off the back of Max Wiesel. Yeah, you can certainly be expecting low 30s, high 29s by the time the checker flag will fall. But I mean, who's got that golden lap in them? It's Max Wiesel, kind of getting the ball rolling, but already the banker laps, as we tend to expect, are still very, very close. Oh, Daniel Kielsen has stolen away the top spot in the McLaren well, 30.690 in the Papaya car. Hopefully his race goes better than Lando's did at the real-life event. And Koya is back in the pits, so the Ferrari not happy with his run. It is possible to... Tomasz Gall reminding us he's with us, the race class driver for Alpine, 136.56. Now, it is possible to invalidate your lap. It is well, certainly possible to hit the ball. You can, there are a few spots you can actually just invalidate the lap rather than breaking the car. And I suspect that is what Daniel Koya did. Louis Welch was last man out on track. He's just coming through the last turn now. Does he come into the pits or does he complete the lap? He is going to complete the lap. And that is a 31.052. So still only a second top to bottom for the entire field, minus Daniel Koya, of course. So still very, very close, with some even closer laps still to come.
Yeah, indeed. Very nice there from Tomasz Gall to lead them away here in the first part of this qualifying session. In the standings, it is Max ahead of Tamas ahead of Joost. Here in qualifying today at the moment, it is Tamas ahead of Max ahead of Joost. So Tamas at the moment on the upper hand in the championship here at round 4 of 11. Obviously, it's still very early into the season, so no matter what Tamas does now, I don't think it'll really mean a lot in terms of the championship for the next 7 rounds, but it will definitely help him get closer and closer to taking that lead here today. Then Kjelsen as well, very good qualifying session from him last night in E-Series at Monaco. He finished second just behind his teammate Richard Jacobs. So obviously Daniel following that form through here tonight into Las Vegas. Then we got Max Wiesel, of course, in third. King Goendorp back up to the top 5 for qualifying in 4th, followed by Szymon Lekomski, who took pole in Hungary. And he took pole by quite a great margin. I think it was about half tenth to second place, and then ended up spinning at the exit of turn 6, which is the last thing anyone wanted to see. It was the last thing that Lekomski wanted, and I believe coming out of that race, Lekomski scored, I think, either 1 point or no points. So big shame for Szymon Lekomski indeed. Hopefully he can try and get himself back towards the top tonight and actually keep it towards the top. Jan Herde couldn't sit comfortable in the top 8. I was speaking with him earlier, and he's not too happy. He's got a new rig, and he's just trying to get adjusted to it. And he's saying he's having a bit of struggling getting used to his rig. But he's got himself in the top 8 here tonight, so he's doing decent so far. Obviously, a big shame as well for Louis Welch. He's sitting 5th in the standings here, and he's currently in 14th position. Tycho Hardy, who's sitting 4th in the standings, is sitting down in P16. So those two, if they want to try and keep their championship hopes alive, they've got to put something down now in the next part of qualifying. They've probably got 2 runs left to do. If they want to push it, maybe 3, but I don't think they'll get any more than that at all. And we've got Max Wiesel, Grandpa, one of the first 8 on track for their second runs here in qualifying. Now, Chris, I know it's a bit early, but do you have any ideas of who you think could end up with pole position?
Oh, you cruel, cruel individual. That's the thing with the championship being so close and the track being this unfamiliar, it's nearly impossible, as Daniel Koya has had trouble. So it could be part of the reason why he wasn't able to set a lap. He may be having oh, it's happened already. Joost Noordijk has got the dreaded 5-place penalty, which here is even more painful. Because overtaking is not easy to do. It's not as bad as other street circuits a la Monaco, but it's still tough. It is still a difficult circuit to get too many passes on without mistakes or catastrophe befalling the field. Or who would I put money on for pole? Ooh. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. It's difficult. We don't have any past data to go on. We don't know who's good here because it's the first time we've all been here. So, do I go for? It's difficult to look away from the top three because of how good they are. Max Wiesel, Tamas Gav, Joost Noordijk. You know what? I'm going to go with Joost. It's such an experienced driver. I'm going to go with the Haas on this one. Third in the championship. That's my bet for pole.
Well, normally I go with the person who's already on provisional pole, but tonight I'll be a little bit more conservative and I'll go with Max Wiesel, who's currently sitting in P3, just a 10th back from Tamas Gav, who's also on an outlap. Everyone now, apart from Daniel Kuyt, is out on an outlap. Daniel did leave the session, so hopefully he can get himself back in very shortly. But I'm going on board now with Max Wiesel. He heads down in towards that first corner.
That he does. So let's see what he can do then. So heavy on the braking zone. Heavy on the brakes rather. For turn 1, sweeping through 2, 3 and 4. Just a little lift. Feathering the throttle for turn 4. Using every pixel that's available because there aren't all that many of them. Now down towards turn 5. This was one of the biggest trouble zones in the previous event I commentated on here. So expect it's there to cause trouble, particularly in lap 1. Turn 6, you kind of ignore it, and then it's a very difficult section. 7, 8, and 9, rapid succession turns, very heavy curbs there as well. So very easy to unsettle the car. Now it's turn 9 on the gas. If you make a mistake there, you're carrying it quite some distance. Flat out through 10, flat out through 11 as well. Hanging on for dear life as the G-forces are trying to rip the face off of your bones. Now turn 12 can feel a little bit awkward. Again, one of the most important corners in the entire lap because you are flat out for a very, very long time. Well into the 200 miles an hour, well over 300 kilometers an hour these cars are hitting. What is the Red Bull doing actually? I'm going to keep an eye on that. Daniel Kuyt returns to us. Does he hit 220? Just about. So fuel meter already screaming at him as he doesn't quite hit the apex of 14, but sweeps through 15 and 16 fairly well. Up towards the line. Sweeps through 17. And it is 1:30.746 his previous time. It's an improvement in time and not position for Grandpa. 1:37.18 his time.
Yep, I'm trying to find who else is on a lap or setting a lap. So Gahardate pops himself into the top 4, a much needed lap for him. 1,000 quicker there than his F7 teammate of Kian Gondorp. He's also on a lap. I believe he's now heading down the Las Vegas Boulevard in towards turn 14. So we'll go on board with the Alfa Romeo, who we know is very quick in qualifying. Doesn't get as much luck in the race. He's currently sitting 9th of the championship on 12 points out of the past 3 rounds. But in qualifying, we know he's definitely one of the top 5 here at PSGL. As Simon Lukowski goes to the top with a 1:30.510, 10th and a half, separating him and Tamas Gav for P1 and P2. Kian Gondorp, can he put himself onto that pole position as he heads up towards the line? Yes, he can. A 1:30.463, half-tenths quicker than the McLaren of Lukowski. Gonna go on board now with Tamas Gav. He's 2.5 tenths up in that first and second set to combine. Can he try and take that provisional pole away from the top 2? Out to the final corner at turn 16. Now he'll go up towards turn number 17, where he'll meet the start-finish line, and we'll see what time he can set in the Alpine. Can he take that provisional pole back? Yes, he can, with a 1:30.332. That puts him a 10th and a half nearly clear of Kian Gondorp. Chris, the lap times are just coming down and down. The track evolution is so high around this circuit.
But it's equally the driver's confidence in what the machinery they've given themselves that is growing lap on lap on lap. So we may creep into the 29s. I may be a bit optimistic of that. I can't remember what lap times was being set last time I was here. So more cars over the line. Rishan Jacobs up into 5th, 30.7 for the Mercedes driver. As most people have come back into the pits. Daniel Kuyt yet to return to the track since rejoining the session. So hopefully his maladies are fixable or at least dealable or some way able to mitigate whatever difficulties he is having. So Tamas Gav holding on to that top spot, setting a real marker with that 30.3. There's improvement still to come.
There is, and I noticed Andres Habukin got himself into that top 10 there for Alpine. Joost Noordijk wasn't on that, but he let off, so he's going to be stuck down in P8 with a .772. And look at that. 5th down, well, I suppose you could say 4th, down to 8, separated by around a 10th of a second. That is very close between those 5 drivers there. The further back we can see, we've got Liam Stevens all the way down to Race Imtiaz in 14th, also separated by 1/10 of a second. But the top 3 are absolutely clear. A 10th separating Tamas and Keen, half-tenth separating Keen and Shimon, and then what's that? Nearly a tenth and a half, 2/10 separating the two McLarens of Shimon and Daniel. The top three at this point are unstoppable, but lots of drivers will be looking to make improvements in the final part of qualifying. So we can see the now Rishan entering the pit shortly, and the other Mercedes are Liam Stevens as well, and Tararuki. And then we have about 4 minutes left to go before we're into the end part of qualifying, where we could see anyone, I think, in that top 5 take pole position.
Indeed, true. So only Rishan Jacobs is the only man out there at the moment. People are taking a bit of a breather this time before heading out on their final laps. We're heading into the Banzai phase very, very shortly. And Rishan will want to be getting on with it to get back to the pits as quick as he can. No, he can't go any quicker. His fuel tank is dry. So that's as good as he is going to be able to go in limp mode. But yes, now everyone is looking at everybody else, waiting for someone to pull the trigger. Not what I expected here in Las Vegas. I thought we were going to have a constant stream of qualifying laps because of the unfamiliar nature of the circuit. Someone has, who is decided to come out before the rest. Waiting for the tower. It's Tycho Hardy.
Yes.
So then, the AlphaTauri has decided to break cover, and you can see everybody else is flooding out behind him. Not necessarily waiting for Tycho to come out first, they're just waiting for someone to come out first. Make any tweaks to the setup, any last minute changes they want to do, or tyres ain't going to be one of them. That much we know. As Daniel Koya has come back out, so he is now very much disadvantaged. He won't have built up that those little bits of confidence that everybody else has managed to get out there. It's basically just all or nothing in one single lap for Daniel Koya, as Tycho Hardy has actually let the Ferrari through. So probably big, giving sympathy to Daniel Koya, this being his only qualifying run. But we are now, never mind, it's the Ferrari letting Tycho Hardy back through again. But it is now the Banzai phase, the final few minutes of qualifying, do or die, all or nothing, feast or famine for our drivers tonight.
So Tycho Hardy will be the first to lead the way, probably, unless his teammate decides to, well, technically teammate. PSGL, no, but in terms of teams, you got, what, Tycho Hardy, Keen Gondor, Jerry Van Bussel, Racing Imtiaz, Bradley Holden, Legend Rosenberg, Daniel Kerr, all part of F7R. So, obviously, we've seen them multiple times work together. There's nothing stopping them working together. Sometimes you see the teams that the cars are allocated as more of a, it's more of just, they just don't pick the same time as this person. You don't really see many teams working together. You'll have people from completely different teams who are slotted together. Some people will obviously go with someone they race with normally. Otherwise, you might end up with someone that you don't really race with, so you just try and see what happens and get on with it. So, Tycho Hardy will be the first. You can see then behind him you've got Legend Rosenberg. You've got Daniel Kaya also out on the circuit. Bradley Holder gets a 5-place grid penalty, so that does confirm yet again that we will have a restart at the end of qualifying for the race. So, Tycho Hardy headed out turn to our team will go aboard with him for his lap as he heads down towards that first corner to begin the ending of this qualifying session.
That it will. Now, what can the AlphaTauri do? As he is screaming his way through that final turn. Over 200 miles an hour, but he slams on the brakes much closer. Oh, Daniel Kjellson wants to add his name to the penalty board as well. As Tycho Hardy then continues, continues to work his way through the first sector. First sector ends just after turn 9, so we won't know how he's doing against his delta for a few turns yet. That's turn 5, he's just coming through. Now he hugs the inside line and then lets the car wander over to the right to open up the line for turn 7. Very difficult section to keep a rhythm with because it is very, very slow and these cars are very clumsy at this kind of rate. Gets on the gas then on the exit of turn 9. What's his delta? It's 15 thousandths up. Even that isn't going to give him, as tight as his field is, that is not going to give him anything at this point. Down to the gears of turn 12. That was very, very close. I think that was a tad wide there for Tycho Hardy, but again, you do have to use every pixel of space you've got available to you to maximize your lap time. Now, as push the foot through the firewall as hard as you can. We've seen, I saw kind of 220 mile an hour. It's not quite hitting that, so the top speed slightly lower in the AlphaTauri than we've seen from some others. Checking flag is out, so who is going to come out on top of this session? Here comes Tycho Hardy then to start the ball rolling on the last Banzai laps. 130.749. His time is 130.743. An improvement in time in opposition. Joost Noordijk up into 4th for Haas. Koya 6th for Ferrari. Nicely done on his one and only lap. in the session. That's Jerry Van Bussel up into 10th. So the AlphaTauris together on row 5 at the moment. Who is going to be next? King Gondorp is 2nd. Paul Eschermeyer is 5th. It's all coming in. Where's the McLaren? That was Daniel Kjellson. Then Liam Stevens up into 5th position. So a bit of a stronger showing from the Mercedes this time around.
Indeed.
Who is next? Who is next? Well, Simon Dukowski has retired from the session. He was in the pit lane anyway.
So we'll see who else is on a lap. I believe we had the Aston Martin. Jan Halliday also comes to line. Where does he go? On the P15 for him. Russian Jacobs as well. Coming down towards turn 14. He's up by a tenth of a second in that middle set. So we'll see what he manages to do. Louis Welch also goes on. He goes and stays in P18. So no improvement there from Louis Welch. So the last person to set time in this session will be Russian Jacobs. He comes through the final corner up to line. What can Russian Jacobs do? We'll see in a second when he manages to finish in. And it will be P11, so no improvement there for Richard, unfortunately, on that lap. But I think the big talking point about that one is Max Wiesel starts in 9th. He's our championship leader. Tamas Gal, who's only 2 points behind him in the championship, starts on pole position ahead of King Gondorp, who did improve, but it wasn't enough to put him onto that top step of the grid as they head in towards the race. And we've got Lukomsky in 3rd, Jostenrock in 4th, Liam Stevens 5th, Bradley Holdham, very good for him in P6, followed by Paul Eckelmeyer, Daniel Kjellson, Mr. Max Wiesel, and Daniel Coyot in the top 10, who surprisingly only got 1 lap in, got himself into the top 10. He should be very, very happy with that indeed. Then we have Richard Jacobs, Andrei Sabiuk, Tycho Hardy, Joe Van Bussel, Legend Rosenberg, Jan Halliday, Racing Tiaz, and Louis Welch. Rounded out the top 80 in the full grid here today. But yeah, Louis Welch and Tycho Hardy, they'll definitely also be ashamed of their performances, considering they're still fighting for that championship. They're only about 10 points back from Max Wiesel, and both of them are starting outside the points of Louis Welch, starting on the back row of the grid.
Of course, we're not even halfway through the season, so every point is worth fighting for at this stage. Yeah, some people have got slightly more of an uphill battle ahead of them than others, but that is the nature of the beast. So we will be going through a server restart here. It is not the work of a moment to go through that, to get all the drivers out, back into a new session, and and then get the grid rebuilt again. It does take a few moments to do. So what you've seen so far, then, Nathan, what are you thinking?
It's been great. Honestly, the start to that qualifying session was great. The ending as well. Obviously, we didn't see much of a fight for pole at the end. But all over the grid, we saw people jumping up, lots of Daniel, Bradley as well, getting themselves into the top 10. They was quite far out before, so it shows that the improvements in the track evolution was very high. It was just about the drivers who could get that right and, get it nailed in on their final runs. But we've got to restart for qualifying. We'll be back with you very shortly. We're going to have a quick word from our sponsors over at GT Omega. So welcome back, everybody, and we'll take a quick look at the standings first before we head back over to the intermission screen and we can have a little bit of talk about the qualifying session. So Tamas Gal, 2nd in the championship, starts on pole. Max Wiesel, the championship leader, starts down in 9th. So 7 positions separating 2 points. That is quite a lot, and that is definitely going to be weighing into Tamas Gal's favour. And then Jos Nordok, he starts in the top 4. He's 3rd in the championship, so that's also good for him to try and make a bounce on Max Wiesel. Then we've got Tycho Hardy and Louis Welch. They're starting near the back. That is not ideal for them at all whatsoever. Then we've got lots of King Gondorp. He's on the front row of the grid. It's a good chance for him to try and move himself up like Yannick Schmidt, Lenny Pepinter, Theo McKee, not racing. So only 3 points needed for him to move himself up into the top 6. So a lot of drivers, Chris, on this grid, they can make some big bounces in the championship on the fact that some drivers who are near the top either aren't racing or have had a very poor session for themselves.
Absolutely. So now this circuit is not easy to overtake on, as I mentioned. So let's just have a kind of cursory look then at this 17-turn car, a 17-turn circuit. So turn 1, very heavy braking zone off of being flat out for a little while. So you can expect a fair amount of action there. There is space to have to exit stage right if the drivers need to, or if they've overshot the braking zone. There is a bit of runoff there in turn 1. 2 and 3. The track starts to tighten up. The barriers get very, very close. Turn 4, well, if you've gotten 2 and 3 wrong, you may try and challenge through 4, but very risky, as I say, because the barriers are very, very close. And then one of the biggest trouble zones that I had last time I was in Vegas, which I was there in real life, but hey ho, is turn 5. Now, with the field being very, very heavily condensed, of course, if it takes it will take one person from the tail end of the field to miss their braking zone and plow through the field. So that is a likely troublesome spot. 6 through to 9, not quite so much, because the run up to those turns is very, very short. So you don't tend to face a lot of problem there. The next, I say trouble zone, but the next sort of potential area for issue is turn 12. So you've gotten out of turn 9, you've survived the first sector, okay, and then you sweep through 10 and 11, and you're still turning a little bit whilst you're trying to brake. So the car is not quite settled by the time you hit the braking zone anyway, and then the curb is really quite sharp at turn 12. And then if you've gotten that right, you are absolutely flying all the way along to turn 14. Turn 13 is a fairly non-existent kink in the middle of the Las Vegas Boulevard. But then very heavy braking zone into 14, 15, 16 without too much runoff, without really any runoff area there. So the barriers are waiting. If you get the braking zone into turn 14 wrong, you'll tend to send yourself straight into the wall and whoever else happens to be near you. And then it is a quick sprint to the line to do it all over again.
Well, I really love this track. I think it was a little bit hard done by everyone in the F1 community, both in the esports side and also IRL. I think it's a lovely track. To drive it, I'm not too keen. I'm not a good driver, that's why. But I've heard a lot of drivers really enjoy this track, because it's more, it's not difficult. There's just a big challenge with it, especially it being quite difficult in terms of grip. We know it's a very low grip circuit, one of the lowest grip circuits on the game. Especially when we could tend towards that turn one. If you're on brand new hard tyres, that could cause some issues, especially because they're going to be very cold when you leave the line. But let's on the chat what you think of this circuit. If maybe your mind's changed since we had the Las Vegas Grand Prix last week, because mine certainly has. I think other people as well, probably. But I'd like to know in the chat what you all think, and let us know what you don't like about the track, if you don't like it. That'd be also something that would be quite keen to know. We've got everyone in the lobby, so we're getting started very, very shortly.
Now, whether it's not going to play a part in this, I can see from the lobby settings that the sun is shining. It's not, because it's a night race, but you know what I mean. There is no rain playing part in this race, and I think that's fair for the first visit to Las Vegas, because the track is hard enough as it is. As for my personal opinion, can't say I was particularly bowled away by its real life counterpart, but the sim racing version is certainly a lot of potential for a lot of action. Some of it, like I say, quite chaotic, and I am expecting there to be quite a few incidents. The stewards may be a bit busy in between this and the next race at Austria next time around. But that being said, we really are likely to see some, we could well see some real standout performances from those that haven't quite had an opportunity to show what they're made of so far this season. That is the nature of this circuit. It really plays to those that can drive much more on their wit than relying on muscle memory. So yeah, we could see some upsets tonight.
And I think also with it being quite a new track in terms of strategy, there's not much to go off either. So I think a lot of drivers will be also looking to react to that. They're probably going to have quite a few things down their list of what can happen. So if a safety car comes out midway through, what do you do? Do you stay on your sides? Do you pit? You've got to work all that out. Most tracks, you've already got that sorted, because you've, like Silverstone, there's been 2 or 3 or 4 league races already at that track. That's also including other leagues. Whereas here, there's maybe been 1 or 2. I've not seen many people at all do many high-level league races at Las Vegas. So there's a lot less to go off. There's a lot less data. I mean, drivers might have to be a little bit more improv of what they do with strategy. Whether that means drivers will start on the soft, try and push through. Whether that means they'll stay on the hard and try and go as long as they can. Normally, you'd have an idea what you expect, but for me, I don't have a clue what we expect here at all. I think there'll be a mixture of tyres throughout the grid. I was looking back at the S3 stream earlier. We did see a few on the soft, most on the hards, no one surprising on the medium tyres. So it is either the hardest or the softest compound, probably, which is going to start the race. And also in the chat, Outside Masters says the Vegas circuit is epic. That's good to hear. Definitely, Chris. It's definitely better on the game than it is IRL. I think the action you can get. I remember back over at WR earlier on that there was a 5-car. Well, 5-car parts upon. They're not the greatest things to see, but it did cause a lot of entertainment. That is for sure.
Yeah, absolutely so. And I certainly prefer, not for the first time I've said this, but I prefer the sim racing variant to the real life variant. Sochi. but each to their own. But just the nature of this, and being that it's so unfamiliar to all and sundry, I think it's going to bring out different drivers. Like I said, that have that ability just to adapt quickly and drive more on their wits are going to come good tonight. So we could well see a different pecking order up front, but it's certainly in the beginning stages, it is all about survival. You can argue every track is, but take Silverstone, that has got miles and miles of runoff area in it, but also is ingrained in your racing DNA. I mean, how many racing games have Silverstone in some way, shape, or form in it? You, of course, don't have that level of familiarity with Las Vegas, so that's why those that are more of a reactionary or more of a, like I say, driving on your wits kind of driver are going to do well tonight.
Yep, and we're going to wait for one more driver to load, which is Legend Rosenberg. There we can get underway. Let's know as well in the chat who you think will take victory tonight. Is Tamas Gal on pole ahead of King going up in second? Let's know who you think will take the victory. I will go with Tamas Gal because he's on pole. I always do that every time, and half the time it doesn't actually end well. I don't think I've ever got a prediction right yet.
I regularly get the tyre predictions and every prediction wrong. I went for Yost for pole, and that was also proven wrong. But hey, let's see. I'm gonna stick with Yost. I think his experience will really do him well here. But like I say, there will be numerous drivers that can do well and deserve that top spot. If you survive, unless you've barreled your way and pushed everyone else off, but you don't expect to see driving standards like that. But yeah, if you survive those opening rounds, you deserve to take the spoils of war here in particular.
Yes, it's going to be a very interesting race. And obviously the guys at the back of the grid actually are on a bit of a turn, aren't they? They're not actually straight. They're on a bit of a left-hand turn, so they'll have to try and navigate that. I don't think it's much of an issue, but it's a little bit different to what we normally see. But now into this boring part, we have to just sit here and wait until the drive's ready up. Yuri and Vista says in chats, keying for P1. So we got a vote from myself for Tamas, a vote for Kian from Jorian, and then a vote for Yost from Chris. So whoever's in third hasn't had a vote yet for the victory, so we'll see if they can get one as well. They'll probably get the victory now. Everyone else has been voted. The one who didn't get voted for will probably take victory, and I think that's something that's probably happens a lot. Last night in E-Series, I cursed a total of 7 drivers. That's nearly half the grid. I'm not going to curse as many tonight, hopefully, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut about who's doing well in the race, because every time I say that, there's either a safety car that messes them up, or they end up hitting a wall or having contact, or somehow losing. But we are getting underway. Is Tamas Gal on pole? King going up in second. We can see now the fire lights on the screen. Lights are going to go underway very shortly, and we're away for the start of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Down towards turn number 1. Let's see who gets the better launch, and I think it was King going up. Yes, he does. King going up takes the lead in towards that first corner ahead of Tamas Gal, and that's, I think, Max Fiesel going off circuit a little bit further back. He drops down to P11. We'll have a look at the tyres and what the drivers are using. It is soft for King Gondel, hards for most of the others. We've got a few mediums and also a couple more soft runners of Bradley Holdham, Legend Rosenberg, and Race Imtiaz. As Bradley gets himself into P4 as they head down in towards turn 5 for the first time. That's contact!
Oh,
that
no!
is Richard Jacobs round! Oh my goodness, what even happened there? I just saw him get tapped round. Richard at the back of the grid after doing a decent job in qualifying, and all that work is undone.
I mean, how on earth he kept that out of the wall, I don't know. I mean, unfortunately, he ghosted and didn't take a lot of the field with him. He just bounced. I didn't see who he bounced off of, unfortunately, but it was just one tap and that unsettled the car. But either way, everybody has survived the opening round. But King Gondorp using his tyre advantage well in this opening gambit, and he's already got himself 1.2 seconds
into the
over
wall.
Tamas Gal.
Was...
Now, go on.
I was going to say Richard Jacobs and Louis Welch came to a bit of contact as Bradley Holdham takes P3, so I'll cut you off there. I'm not sure what happened between those two, and they're getting very close again down towards turn number 14. We know Richard hasn't had the best look this season. They're making contact again. Down the straight. What are these two doing? I do not have a clue. So they're heading towards turn 12. Louis Welch has got the inside line, gets himself ahead of Richard, and Richard will have to try and go for a bit of a switchback manoeuvre on the exit of turn 12. But I don't know what these turn 14, so I'm not sure what these two are actually doing at the back of the field. We'll switch back to the top, where we can see Keane Gondorp set to fastest lap. He was the first one to cross the line after the first lap of this race, and a very good start indeed. But we've got to remember, he was on the soft tyres. He was, of course, he was going to get a better start than Tamas Gal, who's down to third. He's got Jost Aldart right behind Simulakomsky for P4, but big shame for Max Wiesel down to P10.
Louis Welch in the pits almost actually squashed Rishan against the wall. That was slightly unfortunate. Rishan went to the left-hand side of the Red Bull as the Red Bull was trying to come into the pit lane. So that was could have been a little bit uncomfortable. But Legend Rosenberg and TF10 Grandpa arguing for 10th spot. The Red Bull winning out on that one at the moment. Oh, never mind. As barrels through on the inside line with those soft times comes a Legend Rosenberg in the Haas. So Bradley Holdham then, a good start for him in the Aston Martin. He's up 4 positions. Tycho Hardy and Legend Rosenberg both up 5. So they're the big winners from the start of this race. And Bradley Holdham doing well to get through the field and get into a position where he's trying to break the DRS. Hasn't managed to do it yet, but Tamas Gal will do well if he can hang on to the tyre tracks of the Aston Martin for when DRS becomes available, as Koya gets past Liam Stevens for 6th position. Again, the medium tyres starting to come good for those medium starters, of which we've got, well, 3 of them, as Louis Welch has gone on to the medium tyres for this race. Now, he was already on hard, so he could have swapped to another set of hards, but he's going to try and take these to the end of the race. I think that's going to be a little bit optimistic. King Gondop with the fastest lap of the race thus far. You can expect that to bounce around for a while. What has happened to Paul Eschmeyer? He's in the pits as well.
Yeah.
Not a good start for the TF10 Williams.
I believe he had a bit of contact with Legend Rosenberg down at the exit of turn 16. I think Paul just about touched the wall, and this obviously gave him a bit of damage. So big shame for Paul Eschmeyer now to be down in P17 in this race. And I'm just keeping my eye on Liam Stevens in the top 7. Hasn't scored a put this season just yet, so this is his best position so far in this season in the top 7. We'll see if he can try and make a move shortly on Daniel Coe, who's only 2 tenths ahead of him, but he's got Togo Hardy on the mediums as well right behind, so we'll see if the AlphaTauri gets the spots on that Mercedes anytime soon. Then further back, Legend Rosenberg's got to try and gain him back into that 1 second gap. That's 1.3 seconds between Legend and Tycho. I'm sure he'll be able to get into that very shortly. He's still on those soft compounded tyres, and we've got Joe Van Bossel right behind the back of Max Wiesel as they come round towards turns 10, 11, and then down towards the braking zone at turn 12. Do we see a move here from Joe? No, we don't, but he's very close to the back of the Red Bull indeed as they head out now, back down towards turn 14. And Togo Hardy's going to get a move on Liam Stevens. Great move from him indeed. Got that DRS. He's also got a bit more straight line speed, I think, in that setup as Tamas Gal takes back 2nd position ahead of Bradley Holdham. So these hard tyres coming into clutch a bit more now, only on lap 3 of 25.
DRS is also available, so that's how strong it is along that long back stretch. So Bradley Holdham, his car looking very, very loose coming through the twisty parts. So whether he's got damage or whether he's struggling a bit with his setup, the Aston Martin not looking quite as strong as it was a couple of laps ago. But the field's still very closely condensed from 2nd down to 8th place of Liam Stevens. But yeah, can't discount anything because the soft tyres are going to burn away quite quickly. We know this is a low grip circuit, which means the tyres slide much more. And certainly in the first half of the circuit, there's a lot of twisty bits. It's not so hard on tyres as some other circuits, but it's by no means kind as Paul Eschmeyer's in the pits again.
Ooh, I'm not sure what happened to Paul then. So he's back in the pits for the 2nd time in 2 laps. So we'll go into a new set of medium tyres.
And another front wing as well.
Oh, so he's hit the wall again. So big shame for Paul. Unless maybe he went in the first one and it didn't change his front wing. That could also be a possibility. But he's back into the pits yet again. We'll see him come out on track very shortly. And in towards turn 12 go. Jos Nordijk in P5 right behind the back of Lekomsky. But he has got Daniel Kerr on those newer, on the same lap old, but better compounded tyres, the mediums. Right on his tail as they head down towards turn 40. Do we see move for P6? We see move for P4. That's Jos Nordijk to the outside line of Lekomsky in towards turn 14. That's Bradley Holdham taking back P2 ahead of Tamas Gal as they head into the braking zone. And there, that was Daniel Kerr looking for a move, and he taps the back of Lekomsky into the braking zone. I think for a minute, Christy thought that move was on, but as he come into the braking zone, Lekomsky blocked the door, and Daniel still went for it. Unfortunately, had a bit of a tap on the rear of that McLaren. Luckily, no damage caused, but there could have definitely been some damage caused.
I think he just couldn't slow the car down enough. He was trying his hardest to get the brakes on. Andre Tarabigana was actually running on board with him just as he did that. And that's the first retirement of the night. The Race Clutch Alpine. Yeah, there was damage to his car. His pit crew changing his front wing anyway. But that's first retirement of the night on lap 5. But no safety cars as yet. So, but we haven't had any kind of major, car park like incidents that I've seen before. So the driver's doing a great job just getting settled into the car. Oh, just as I say that was that trouble there for Joost Noordijk, I wondered if there was someone going completely sideways there. I think that was just how it looked on the camera view I was looking at. But the driver's doing a really good job of just kind of getting into the rhythm, getting into the groove of this track without taking a lot of the field with them. So a few bumps here and there, but so far, broadly speaking, so good.
Yep, and Koyne Rotomak of Lukomsky, but also Togo Hardy's got a great exit heading out of turn 12, down towards turn 14. Do we see a swap for P6 and P7? Because Togo's gaining very quickly that gap now. About 0.2 of a second. Tamas Gal retakes that P2 position. Obviously, those two are going to retake that all race long until they pit, because there's no point really fighting for position. You might as well just keep overtaking each other with that DRS, of course. So they head into braking zone. Joost Noordijk getting very close to the back of Bradley Holdham there as they head out to turn 16 down towards turn 1 yet again. And we got Lukomsky sitting comfortably behind, and then obviously the two guys on the mediums, Daniel and Tycho. And I would have thought those two would have been a bit more keen to try and move through the field.
But again, how much is strategy being played out here? They know how long they need to keep their tyres good for. So, with the car sliding around more than they would typically do in other circuits, I would suspect there's a bit of strategy going on as far as trying to keep the tyres good. And also, look at the gap up top. Those hard tyres are now starting to come into the temperature range, excuse me. So that means Tamas Gal is reeling in King Goendorp. Those soft tyres are probably turning into sponge by now. And with each turn, with each corner almost, Tamas Gal is eating away at the lead that King Goendorp has. Nowhere near DRS just yet, but he's really, really getting on with it, which means you can expect Bradley Holdham, Legend Rosenberg and Reyes Imitas to also start to struggle on their starting softs.
Well, look at that gap now. It's 7/10 between Tamas and Joost as they head out, between Tamas and Bradley, as they head out to turn 12. And that gap's now nearly 8/10 of a second, meaning Joost can get a good run down towards turn 14, pop himself into P3, and dispatch the soft runner of Bradley Holdham, who took P2 earlier on in this race. But that gap now, 1.9 seconds between the top two. The softs are definitely starting to lose their mojo in this race, and actually Bradley's going to go back for leads. He's got some great top line speed, but he backs out Daniel Coe fighting with Togo Hardy as well into the braking zone. Togo Hardy into the top 6 now ahead of Daniel Coe, who's looking for a move, looking for a bit of switch back, and hits the wall heading out of turn 15. He misjudged that one completely. Liam Stevens on his tail as they head down towards turn number 1. Can we see Liam Stevens try and take that P7 back? He goes round the outside the final corner, down towards that first corner. And he does take P7, but actually Daniel's going to send it back up the inside. They go side by side through in towards turns 1 and 2. Offline for Liam Stevens. That's going to cost him a bit of time. Could lose some grip as well through there. And Daniel Coe does keep that P7 as they head out of turn 2. Back down towards turn 5. And Liam Stevens, I think, had a hit on the wall as well. That gives Jerry Van Bossel a position of P8 to get himself ahead of the Mercedes. Big shame there for Liam. Hopefully there's no damage on that car, but they still go side by side in towards turn 5. They go. Liam Stevens around the outside. We've got Jerry Van Bossel now switching back to the outside as they head down towards the chicane at turn 6 and 7. Inside line for Liam Stevens, we'll see. Make a bit of contact into there. Still side by side. Liam Stevens on the outside as they head out to the corner. Now it's turn 9. Inside for Liam Stevens. These two having a great battle here on lap 7 of 25. And I think Liam might have it done, but it's back to the inside for Jerry Van Bossel as they head through. Side by side still mediums versus hards. And it's safe to say that these two are probably pretty much matched on pace. They head back through in towards turn 12. And Liam Stevens does get that job. Sorry, no, Jerry Van Bossel does get that job done on Liam Stevens. Great job indeed, but great battling, wasn't it, Chris?
No, that was over half a lap's worth of side-by-side that Liam Stevens was involved with. Superb stuff. It was a bit unorthodox to try and move on the exit of 17 for 8th position, but it didn't quite pay off for him. He's still well in that particular fight, as Legend Rosenberg actually had a really good view of the entire battle ahead of him. The soft runner's not coming in just yet. They're going to want to come in fairly soon, I would think, in the next couple of laps of this 25-lap race. Medium runners probably looking at about half distance, so around 12, 13, somewhere around there. But the soft runner's still out there, hanging on in there. Joost Noordijk. Oh no, that's trouble for Bradley Holdham. He's had to take to one of the few runoff areas there is on this second, on the outside of turn 1. Probably just got nothing left in the sponge that's masquerading as tyres. Look at the lead. It is nearly within DRS range for Tamas Gal. This is why I'm saying that those soft tyres have absolutely had it, as Daniel Coe in the Ferrari gets past Bradley Holdham's car. So he's going to continue to fall the longer he tries to stretch out these tyres. They need to get rid of these softs. Mediums are likely to go to the end of the race from here. They won't be very happy when they get to the end of the race, but they're losing so much time on these starting softs now.
Yeah, and Jeremy Van Bussel, Bradley Holdham, starting to hold the pack up. Jeremy Van Bussel needs to get through ASAP on the Aston Martin driver. William Stevens just behind. Yeah, I think these softs are starting to slowly dive now. That gap between the top two is just over a second as they head out at turn 12. So next lap by, Tamas Gill probably will have some DRS to use down towards turn number 14. You can see that gap, yeah, just hovering just above a second, 1.02 as they head down in towards turn number 14. And Joost Lundijk also gained on the back of Tamas Gill. He goes to the inside line. Can he take P2 into the braking zone? Yes, he can. Tamas Gill didn't even bother fighting it. There's no point fighting moves here on lap 8 when you're both on the same tyres. There's still pit stops to go, and there's still lots of more drama to partake in. Right, back down towards turn 1 we go. Tamas Gill looking for a move yet again on the back of Joost Lundijk. Can he try and take P2 back in towards that first corner? He's just going to sit behind us, go for a move. No, just stays behind the Haas in towards turn number 1. No point fighting, of course. And Lukomski sitting comfortably in the top 4. He's not really getting involved in much at all. He just pulled himself along, letting those ahead battle hard. And we've got Jeremy Van Bussel now on the back of Bradley Holdham as they head out of turn 3. Down towards turn number 4 and 5 they go. And it'll be Jeremy Van Bussel to the inside line. Bradley's going to try and squeeze him if he can to make the Alto have a really poor line in towards the entry of the corner. They still go side by side. Bradley's going to go to the outside, very close to the wall there for the Aston Martin. Big contact as they head down now in towards the chicane. And great move there by Jeremy Van Bussel. But I think now Bradley Holdham surely will be starting to think of pitting. But the only issue he has is he can't really pit now because he would rather have some better medium tyres to run at the end.
Well, that's the thing. He's going to lose so much time if he doesn't come in now. So this is the decision they have to make. Do they come in earlier and stretch out the next set of tyres longer, or do they kind of take the loss and say, yeah, try and stretch out the starting tyres? My personal opinion, they need the soft starters. I can't get words out at all. The soft starters need to come in now. They've stretched out these tyres as long as is reasonable. Here comes Joost Lundijk. Pretty simple overtake. Kingo didn't even attempt to cover the inside line. He knew there was no point. Even if he did try and cover the inside line at that point coming down towards turn 14, Joost would have easily had the Alfa Romeo along the start finish straight. Now, no indication of coming into the pit lane for Kian Goendorp. So he's looking to carry on. Now, it looks like all the soft starters are carrying on. Wouldn't have been my suggestion, but then I'm not a race engineer. So these guys know what they're capable of, but how far can they reasonably take these tyres? My opinion is they're going to lose so much time at this point trying to make these tyres work. They're very much past their prime. But again, how far can they take the mediums to a reasonable degree? Can they take them 16 laps? Well, it would be that -1 as they come around next time. So I think the mediums can do it, but we'll see what drivers choose to do as we or the main bulk of the pack at least, sweep the way through the twisties 6 through to 9. That DRS frame first, right the way down to 14th.
Yeah, and Tamas Gill needs to make sure if he can get ahead of Kian Goendorp as soon as possible, or as you could see the likes of Kian pitting a couple laps time, and then that gap be over a second between Joost and Tamas. So Tamas needs to get himself ahead as soon as possible, probably self into P2 so he can still keep that 1 second gap to the Joost Lundijk ahead. Obviously, if he's outside that 1 second gap, he's really going to struggle because the likes of Lukomski and Tycho Cardi will also be gaining. But to the inside line, Kian Goendorp takes back the lead here on lap 10 of 25. Into the braking zone they go, and Tamas Gill stays in third. Lukomski as well, doing comfortable job in P4. Remember last time it took pole in Hungary, but unfortunately ended up having a bit of a, nearly DNF. He had a bit of a spin down at turn 6 and lost, I think, every single point he was going to look to get in that race. He's currently looking for a top 4, maybe could even go for a top 3, depending on what happens with the strategies of Kian Goendorp. So into turn 1, Kian keeps the lead. Joost Lundijk in second place. We've got some of the soft runners in the pits. We've also got one of the hard runners in the pits. So Bradley, Legend and Race on the soft into pits, and Max Wiesel got off the hard, so he isn't obviously that comfortable with those tyres. He's onto a set of mediums to take them to the end.
New front wing. That's why he came in. He had damage on the car, did our championship leader. So that has very much compromised his race. He would not have wanted to come in so early on the hard tyres, but obviously felt the need to do so. The rest of the soft runners did. Only Kian Goendorp up top has decided to carry on. His car really uncomfortable on the brakes coming into 6, 7 and 8. So it's just all over the place. There's nothing left. He's really at risk of getting a puncture on those tyres. As Louis Welch, how many times has he been through the pits now?
3. It's going to be 3, hasn't it now, I think?
That's,
the third time.
yeah, well, no, he's done 2. So it probably feels like more than that because of the amount of action we've got going on. But yeah, not ideal for Louis Welch, but still hanging on in there, still carrying on. Up front though, Kean Goendorp, he's going to be pretty much mugged, isn't he? We know this process by now. He holds the inside line. Joost Noordijk just dances around the outside. He's going to bring Tamas Gal with him. Tamas Gal is going for the lead. Is he going to get two on the run down towards turn 14? No, he thought about it, but didn't quite have the overspeed. And even the Alpine getting a bit tail happy coming through the last set of chicane. Now, is Kean going to come in this time? Yes, he does. He makes that early move over to the left-hand side, which is absolutely the right thing to do. The pit lane speed limiter is a long way from the pit lane entry line. So in he comes, 1 lap later than I would have thought, but still managed to make it work. In fairness to the Alfa Romeo, he was still fighting for the lead. Medium tyres for him, absolutely the right decision. Keep an eye on him though, he's going to be strong.
Yeah, but he's considering those behind, those that will be ahead of him. I think lots of Legend, Bradley, and Race are all going to be on older tyres by 1 lap. We know that in this game, 1 lap old tyres actually make a difference. In past games, they don't make much of a difference at all. There's actually Kean Goendorp's got a great exit. He's come out ahead of Richard Jacobs, who's now fighting with Legend Rosenberg down in towards turn 5. And that's also 3 wide with Bradley Holdham in towards turn 4. They make contact again into the braking zone. That's the last time. Richard ended up spinning red. Legend Rosenberg into the top 10. He puts himself ahead of Kean Goendorp, who was on leading the race earlier on before he made his pit stop. We've got Bradley Holdham sitting in that net 3rd position here in this race, and Richard now down to that net 4th. Obviously, he did make a pit stop, I believe, earlier on. If not, he must have had another spin again because he's quite far back from the leading pack here in this race. And we've got Racing Tales. He's a little bit further back. He's 2 seconds back from the Mercedes, so he would like to try and gain as quick as he can to get some DRS to pull himself a bit closer to all of his F7R teammates just ahead. And now, actually, we'll have to see what happens between Kean and Legend if they work together. Joost Noordijk gives the lead back to Tamas Gal, who also gets overtaken by Lukomski to the inside at turn 14. So Sim Lukomski into the top 2 now as they head out of turn 16, back down towards turn 1. And I don't think it'll be long before we see the people on the mediums heading towards that pit lane. The hard runners will probably not be too much longer after that, and some of them might even go in at the same time as the medium runners. And that's Kean Goendorp back into the top 10 ahead of Legend Rosenberg. And we're going side by side in towards turn 1. Joost Noordijk looking for a move to the inside of Lukomski. Lukomski's going to have the inside line at turns 2 and 3. And great move there, great defence by the McLaren, and Joost will have to try and fight that one another leg, because I don't think he'll have a good enough run. No, he won't, down in towards the next complex of corners.
Absolutely brilliant stuff as again Lukomski adopts that defensive posture, coming down towards turn 5, keeps the Haas at bay. So this is 1st to 8th now in this particular train. Jan Halliday has, I wonder if he's had trouble somewhere because he's a couple of seconds off the back. As Rosenberg and Keendorf swap positions again. That's on the run down towards turn 5 as Richard Jacobs loses another position. He's down to 14th now. He hasn't been in, so this is not turning into a good race for the Mercedes driver. But up front, Joost Noordijk, he's on the case of the McLaren once again. A little bit of a gap for Tamas Gal, but that can easily disappear. We've seen how powerful the DRS is along the Las Vegas Boulevard, which is where this lead pack now is. Here comes Noordijk. He's going to leapfrog Lukomski. Of course, they've all got DRS at this point. Look how quickly they're closing in on Tamas Gal. This could be a little bit late for a lunge. Yeah, and Joost Noordijk knew it. He just bled a tiny bit out of the throttle. Couldn't bleed out entirely because he still had that ever-persistent McLaren right behind him. Is again Kean Goendorp and Legend Rosenberg swap position.
I think that is someone entering the pits, isn't it? Yes, it is. That is the leaders. That's Tamas Gal and Joost Noordijk into the pit lane now on that 14 and 25. So we'll see what tyres they head on to. So now Lukomski takes the lead. Tygo Hardy in the top 2 ahead of Daniel Kerr, Joey Van Bussel and Liam Stevens in the top 5. Mediums for Tamas, and it will also be mediums for Joost Noordijk as well. They'll head out the pits, and we'll see where they come out compared to Kean Goendorp. To the inside line, working well with his teammate Legend Rosenberg. Obviously over at F7 they come out quite ahead of those guys, obviously on that undercut and having that slipstream and DRS strategy on the exit the pits for those guys definitely works well. So now Tamas Gal needs to try and gain. Sometimes he's got a 2-second gap to the provisional lead, but he's got Bradley Holdham and Legend Rosenberg before he can get himself to Kean Goendorp, who remember started on the front row of the grid in P2. Tamas Gal was our pole sitter in P1 and Joost Noordijk started P4. He's also having a great job in this race, doing a great job so far in this race as they head down in towards the chicane. But I'm very keen to see how this overcut strategy will work. Legend Rosenberg back into P9 ahead of Bradley Holdham. And these three, they're not really fighting, they're just making positions if they got the space to. They're not, they're not losing time. They're just like, right, I've got the DRS. There's no point you fighting back. Let me take that position. You can repass again with the DRS next time around. It's very clever between these three guys.
Yeah, it was a bit early, I thought, for the hard runners, but again, they know what strategy they want to achieve as Tycho Hardy leapfrogs Simon Lukomsky on the run down towards turn 14. The McLaren knew it was coming, and Daniel Koya tries to squeeze on the inside of the McLaren, can't quite get it done. Now, who's going to come in this time? Now it's Simon Lukomsky. Good grief, Lukomsky. Can't get anyone's name right tonight. The McLaren has come in. He's going to get rid of his starting hard tyres. A few more in the pits as well. There comes Jerry van Bussel along with Liam Stevens. Whoa, Tycho Hardy was miles too deep coming into turn 1. So another 3 pit stoppers. Where is this going to put Tamas Gal and Joost Noordijk? Well, Joost Noordijk is back ahead of Tamas Gal. Again, that's how strong the slipstream in DRS is coming down into turn 1. Lukomsky and well, no, they're coming out.
Koya's out.
And he's taken Tycho Hardy. That's down on turn 5. So they've come together, and we have our first safety car of the night. It's a virtual safety car because both cars have exited the track. But they came together, and it's down at I said turn 5 was going to be a trouble spot. They did brilliantly well to last over half the race. But our first virtual safety car of the night, Daniel Koya and Tycho Hardy, are out.
Now that came to a surprise. You got to remember they're both at F7R. That's going to cause a bit of an awkward scene in their voice channels and Discord server. That is something they do not want at all. And Daniel, quite an order that. Tycho Hardy as well, quite an order. Remember, Tycho Hardy's currently sitting 4th in the championship. He definitely won't be sitting 4th after that. Big shame. Obviously, we had Andrew Toby can leave us earlier on. So 3 retirements now in this race, and there has been no safety car deployed, just a virtual safety car, meaning that we can have the likes of Jan and Daniel heading to pit soon and probably getting a little bit of time over what they would have done if they pitted earlier on. Obviously, we can see as well Liam Stevens into P12. His teammate Rich Jacobs also went to the pits on that lap. He's going to be sitting He's going to sit in P13. DRS has been enabled. Virtual safety car has ended, so we're back under green flag conditions. Now King Gondorp getting himself back ahead of Legend Rosenberg. Bradley Holdham looking to get himself ahead of Legend as well in towards turn 14. They go, and let's hope these guys don't take each other out as they head out of turn 14, 15, 16, back down towards turn 1 they go, and that's also Race Imtiaz ahead of Max Wiesel heading in towards turns 14, 15, 16. And I think throughout this whole race now, from lap 16 to 25, we'll see multiple overtakes in towards that end, in towards that turn 14 complex, because the DRS is overpowered on this circuit.
It is very, very strong indeed. As Kjelsen and Jan Halliday as well has come in. So medium tyres for both of those. So that gives the lead of the race over to King Gondorp with Bradley Holdham and Legend Rosenberg in hot pursuit. So that is everybody that has been through the pits. Paul Leschmeyer has actually been through 3 times. As what has just happened to Reyes Imtiaz? He just lost Reyes Imtiaz. I got his name right perfectly well last time, and I'm getting it wrong now. Just lost 2 positions there to Max Wiesel and to Jerry van Bussel. Both actually on the run down towards turn 5. So that is just slipstream playing its part with the Williams hanging on in there and doing what he can. But his tyres bit harder and a bit older than certainly Jerry's is. So Jerry van Bussel on 1 lap old soft tyres. So he's throwing the dice a bit here. He's taking a bit of a gamble on going onto soft tyres for 10 laps at a track that is not very kind to tyres. So that's going to be interesting. Yes, there are worse tyre munchers out there. But we'll see how that transpires as King Gondorp has lost the lead to Bradley Holdham, another leader of this race. And Legend Rosenberg thought about it, but didn't opt to make the move on the run into 14. Less than 10 to go, coming up to 9 laps remaining, and still plenty of action to come.
Indeed, and this DRS has really worked, hasn't it, for the top 3? They're just pulling each other along. Obviously, we saw Bradley, he started on the soft tyres, moved himself up. Legend Rosenberg also on the soft, so that soft to medium strategy is working very well for those, considering I think Legend Rosenberg was quite far down the field once they started that first lap, so he's done a great job to put himself at the moment into a provisional 3rd position. Obviously, it could end differently once we had the likes of Tamas Gal and Joost Noordijk catch up with those being pulled along behind with better tyres. And Liam Stevens also on the back of Max Wiesel in towards turn 5. Do we see a move from him to the inside? We do see a move to the inside, but he backs out. Bit of a dummy move there from the Mercedes on the Red Bulls. They head down, and Max Wiesel goes a little bit deep, taps the wall a little bit. That'll give Liam Stevens a nice run round the outside in towards turn 6 at the chicane. Pops himself through. Liam Stevens yet again on course for his first points this season. And it's the first points as well for Mercedes. Richard Jacobs in P13. He's far from the point, so I don't think he'll have much of a chance of getting Mercedes their inaugural points this season. It will be down to Liam Stevens and that Mercedes car. They head down in towards turn 12 again. And Daniel Hjelsen gets himself ahead of Reis Imtiaz. Pop himself into P10, but remember, he's on those newer medium compounder tyres. Only one lap for him. He'll be quicker than the likes of Max Wiesel, Grandpa, who's sitting just ahead of him in P9, so it should be quite an easy move for the McLaren. But the top we can have yet again Keane Gondorp taking the lead over Bradley Holdham, and Tamas Gall and Joost Uldorp going in very quickly. That gap there, 1.2 seconds as they head into the braking zone. Haas are on a good chance to get some good points, but I don't think Legend and Joost are working together at all. I think realistically they're all going to work together each other just to kind of hold the likes of Jerry Van Bossel behind, because we know he'll be quick. He'll be really looking to get through the field ASAP. So if they can hold Jerry Van Bossel up and just pull each other along without Jerry catching up, that's the thing they need, I think, in this race. Otherwise they could be under a lot of compromisation by the end.
Yeah, but telling drivers to work together is like trying to herd cats sometimes. So we will see. Joost Uldorp now in DRS range to the top three. Jan Halliday getting the fastest lap of the race. He is down in 12th with 10 seconds to gain before he sees company from Reis Imtiaz. But the top five now together with Jerry Van Bossel trying his hardest to close in and make it a six-way fight. Well, if he drags along Lecomte, Stevens, Gilson, and Grandpa. Why is he called Grandpa anyway?
Because he's the oldest driver. He's 34 years old.
I didn't actually realise Max was in his 30s. I grant you that.
Yeah.
Now I realise. I'm used to being the grandpa of sim racing. I've been involved with sim racing since 2016, and I'm used to being old enough to be a parent to a number of drivers. I'm in my 40s with children of my own, but I didn't actually realise Max was still fighting with the youngsters, the young whippersnappers, as we old gits would say. But anyway, we have a race to talk about. Bradley Holdham has retaken the lead again. Legend Rosenberg thinking about a move for second position, doesn't quite come off. Lukomsky has managed to leapfrog Jerry Van Bossel. As good as those soft tyres are, they will not undo the effect of DRS on the way down to turn 14. Here comes Nordyke and the two Hasses. Oh, impact between the two. That's very deep for Joost Uldorp, but does manage to slow it down. Side by side, we can go. No, he spun. Oh no, was he hit or did he spin? Not entirely certain. I was riding on board with Joost Uldorp. That's my bet for the race win, completely down the drain. Now down to 11th and out of the points for Joost Uldorp.
Big shame there for Joost indeed, all the way down to P11, so he's not going to be scoring many points this race. I believe he's also got a bit of damage on that car. Big shame indeed, especially considering he's third in the championship and he was looking to get himself ahead of Max Wiesel in the championship, because Max is still only in 9th position. So big shame for Joost Uldorp indeed. But Tamas Gall, he's in the favourites at the moment to take the lead of the championship heading out to this round. He's in P3. He's got the best tyres. He's got a better strategy probably than these two here, second and first, as they head down in towards turn 12. Can we see an overtake? I don't think we will see an overtaking towards turn 12, no. Tamas isn't as crazy as Max Verstappen at all. So we head out of turn 12, back then towards turn 14. DRS has been enabled now. Well, not yet, but it will be enabled very shortly for these, for Keane and Tamas as they head down in towards turn 14. And you can see Bradley will just be eaten up by the field. There's nothing Bradley can do to defend because the DRS, it's overpowered. You can see as well. The engine's completely max revved as they head down towards the braking zone. So Tamas Gall in prime position to try and take lead. Actually, he's going to get a great exit from Keane Gondorp, had to lift off on the exit at turn 16. Down towards turn 1, he wants to stay behind, he wants that DRS. He's going to be careful that Bradley Holdham doesn't gain quick enough to try and take that P2 away as they head down in towards turn number 1. Bradley Holdham's gaining. Does he make a move? No, he sits back for now. As Liam Stevens gets himself ahead of Legend Rosenberg, they go side by side down in towards turn number 1. Liam Stevens does get himself ahead, but Legend is going to try and hold it around the outside. Can't do so. Nothing he can do in that Haas car. Better size for Liam Stevens by 4 laps. I don't think Legend could fight with that at all. Joost Uldorp gets a 5-second penalty for speed in the pits. Big shame. Our third place in the championship, Joost Uldorp, DNF'd here at Las Vegas.
Oh, such a great shame. I can understand his frustration on that one. As Taki Hardy, we lost from the race earlier on with his impact with Daniel Kvyat. Oh, there'll be a few words that I did say that the stewards were likely to be called to action. So we'll see what the drivers choose to do. Lecomsky is 1.4 seconds now behind the top 3 and is dragging several drivers with him. So we are going to have a big, epic battle for that top spot. Well, we have done for pretty much all race. It's changed hands so many times and will continue to do so. Here we go again. Goendorf, Gal and Oldham in that top three. Now the tyre advantage is swinging away from those that are on 9-lap old medium tyres. Gal and Holden get past Goendorf once again. Van Boersel has gotten past Dukomski, as well as Kielsen has managed to get past Van Boersel. So there's lots of leapfrogging going on for fourth position as it is for the top.
Yeah, and there's 5 laps left to go. Daniel Kielsen's got 4 lap better tyres than Keane, 5 lap better tyres than Bradley Holden, so he'll start to gain that gap very, very quickly. And Jerry Van Boersel, I think we'll start to see slowing down a little bit as those softs will be starting to go into their grinding phase, and we'll start to lose a lot more pace. You can see a little bit wide there from the AlphaTauri as they head through. But I think he'll still be able to get himself a decent haul of points here in this race. And that gap, 1.1 seconds. Daniel has gained, what, 6/10 in the braking zone at turns 1, and then obviously on the power through 2, 3 and 4. That gap back down to 1.6 because that DRS advantage that the top 3 have. But yeah, I think Daniel Kielsen could be in the fight for the win. I think he could even be in the best position to fight for the win because his tyres are the best by quite a margin compared to all of those in the top 3. We've got the likes of Jerry Van Boersel. Obviously, he'll be defending against Lukomski. Lukomski will want to try and get a move on because I think he now at this point probably is quicker than the AlphaTauri. Look at that gap, 7/10 between Yeltsin and Jerry Van Boersel. That gap between the top 4, it's now down to less than a second for Daniel. So he's now in this DRS train. So we're going to have what? That's 7 cars fighting for the lead. Any of these could take the victory. At this point, it's not about tyre age. It's about just pure top speed down towards turn 14.
Is going to be who is in the right place at the right time. As here we go again. Hold'em on Gal. Goendorf on Gal as well. So that's Thomas Gal losing 2 positions, as has happened all race long for that top spot. Daniel Kielsen doing what he can to get in, properly into DRS range to the top 3 and dragging his fellow McLaren teammate with him. So now that's going to completely change the dynamic for that battle for fourth, because they are now well in DRS range to the top 3. So it's no longer those in fourth, which at the moment is Daniel Kielsen. They are no longer disadvantaged the same way that they have been for quite a while, except for the fact their ERS amount is much, much lower than it is for the top 3. So now the top 3 could well start to fight a bit more. Tamas Gal has a think about it on the inside line of 5. Opts not to go for it. Probably quite wise. Now Tamas Gal has got the best tyres of the top 3, but Kielsen has got better tyres. We've got a problem down at the tail end of the field. That's Louis Welch, whose race has been pretty disastrous. I think he may well have come together with Paul Eschemeyer. Oh, goodness me, can his day get any worse? But as for the top 7... also bear in mind, Liam Stevens is still in there, so he's still on to score a handful of points for Mercedes, as that's Eschelmeyer in the Williams that's come into the pits once again. But that top group, all poised, still waiting to do battle with one another.
Yeah, Thomas you can see gaining on the back of Keane. He's also going to be gaining very heavily on the back of Bradley, who will be eaten up by at least 2 drivers. Down in towards turn 14, Keane retakes the lead. It'll be Tamas Gal retaking second. What about Daniel Kielsen? Can he try and make a move on the Aston Martin to the braking zone? He's a little bit too far back for now, but you can see he's got a great run. So he could have a move possibly down towards turn 1. He's got better traction, obviously, on those better tyres than the Aston Martin. And look at that. Great exit from Daniel. But Bradley pulling away, using a bit more of that battery to keep himself in that comfortable 3rd position. And Tamas Gal is looking to the outside, looking back to the inside, has to stick behind the back of the Alfa Romeo in towards that first corner. He wants that DRS. Keane goes deep. That could be done on purpose. He might want Tamas to take the lead because he wants that DRS. We know the DRS is very powerful. So when anyone who's got the DRS now is in the perfect prime position in this race. Daniel's got a great run down towards turn 5. Can he try and take P3 away from Bradley? He's going to try it, but can't do so. Bradley's going to take P3 away from Tamas Gal into the braking zone at turn 5. Daniel to the outside line, tries to make a move on the Aston Martin, but a little bit too far back. These guys are getting very close, but they're all doing some great competitive racing.
Absolutely so. Kielsen is now starting to see the benefit of having that many less laps, 5 laps less on his tyres than Bradley Holden, who's doing a pretty good job in hanging on to the back of Tamas Gal and Keane Goendorf, our lad, because of the tyre where he's got not a good exit from turn 9, for Lukomski. That's going to give Kielsen and crew a bit more breathing space. Not that it'll last very long. And that's that's Goendorf round. King Goendorf has gone round. He's had an issue at turn 12.
I think he's locked up because I don't remember I don't remember Tamas making a move there, so I think Key might have just locked up, heading down in towards turn 12. And now we've had incident at turn 5, incident at turn 12. Now, I think it won't be a matter of time before we have an incident then at turn 14. Bradley Holdham goes to take the lead, has to back out. Daniel Kjelsen also right behind as they head down in towards turn number 14. And look at that exit from Daniel, a really good exit. But you can see Bradley's got a little bit more straight line speed in that car, so we just pull away a little bit once they get on that straight line speed section down in towards turn number 1. As they go back over the line, lap 24 to 25, the penultimate lap of this race. Bradley Holdham on those 13-lap-old tyres is on course to try and take a victory from Tamas Gal. That shows around this circuit sometimes it's not down to the tyre age, it's down to that DRS power.
Absolutely so, but anything can still happen as the group scream their way up towards turn 5 once again. DRS open, keeping Bradley and Daniel in the fight. They're dragging Simon Likomski along for the ride. Don't forget Jared Van Bussel as well. He's still in there, but his tyres will feel pretty dead by now. Liam Stevens now in 6th position with the falling of Keane Goendorf out of that top 5 position. But the field now, I say the field, certainly the top part of the field, still all arguing for top honours. There's still battling going on behind them. Legend Rosenberg, Keane Goendorf arguing for 7th position. But Max Vettel down in 9th, not where you would expect to see the championship leader. Oh, here's Kjelsen. He's had a good exit from 12, drawing alongside the Aston Martin. Just can't quite do it. But now switches to the other side, and that's now surely signed, sealed, and delivered. Daniel Kjelsen up into 2nd. Can he get Gal for the lead? Yes, he can. Has he fired his powder too early, I wonder? Because that's going to put the McLaren under a lot of pressure leading into the final lap. Bit too deep down into turn 14. Bradley Holdham up into 2nd. It's still anyone's game for the win.
It is, because we've got Likomski also gaining. He's a 10th.5 back from Gal as they head down into turn 1 for the final time this race. Lap 25 of 25 begins. It's a battle for the victory. You can see them all trying to scurry through in towards that first corner. Tamas Gal round the outside of Bradley Holdham. Can he make that move? They go side by side through in towards turns 2 and 3 and 4. And no, Bradley keeps that position for now. But we've got lots of Jerry Van Bossel also gaining as they head down in towards turn 5. At this point, Chris, any of the top six could take victory because everyone's going to be scurrying around and surely someone's going to have a bit of an incident here.
Well, you would think so, but let's see who blinks first. It's Kjelsen from Holden from Gal up for the top 3. Likomski and Van Bussel hanging on in there. Liam Stevens, I wonder if he's just got anything left in his tyres. You could well do, but he may well just opt to take the safer spot and get some good points under his belt. You wouldn't blame him if that was the case. Here we go, and look at Kjelsen. He has dumped the battery on the exit of turn 9 to try and break DRS back to Holdham. Now, not a bad move, bearing in mind that the Aston Martin tyres are much older, but he's using everything he's got left. Overtake and ERS as much as he dares. Well, what about Gal on the back of Bradley Holdham? DRS opened for the Aston Martin, well, for everybody that's still in range. Here comes Tamas Gal on Bradley Holdham. Are they closing in enough on Daniel Kjelsen? The McLaren is hanging on to the inside line. Here comes Tamas Gal on the outside, coming down towards turn 14. Can he hold it? Oh, and that's a touch for Bradley Holdham, just about holds it. And Likomski, what a move! And also Van Bussel has managed to get through a deadly mistake from Bradley Holdham. Who's going to take the victory? It is Tamas Gal by half a second, but by half a tenth was Likomski behind his teammate. What a finish!
Pure scenes between the field. Look at that, the gap for 2nd and 3rd, 39 thousandths between the two teammates. McLaren, they're going to be loving that result, 2nd and 3rd. But Tamas Gal, back-to-back victories. Won last time out in Hungary. He's going to win here in round 4 at Las Vegas. He's going to have a gargantuan gap now in this championship, considering what we've seen so far. We got Max Vettel, finished P9, only takes 2 points away from this race. Obviously, Bradley's retired, but he will keep that position back just because he left the session too early. But yeah, the standings-wise, Tamas Gal's going to have a decent lead in the championship because Joost Ullrich scored no points. Max Vettel scored 2 points. Toga Hardy scored no points. Louis Welch scored no points. Theo McKee wasn't here. Yannick Schmidt wasn't here. Lenny Pippins wasn't here. Keane Goendorf finished in, I think he finished in around P9, so he will score points. So at this point, it's going to be a 10-point gap between 1st and 2nd, I think, in this championship. So,
wow.
Tamas Gal, what a performance from him today. At one point, I'm thinking, no, he can't do it because Daniel dumped them both. The gap was, I think, 1.2 seconds, I think, heading onto turn 40. heading into turn 14. The gap come back to Tamashgal taking the lead. Tamash gained over a second down towards the final competitor corners. Pure scenes, but you can see there Tamashgal takes victory, confirmation ahead of Daniel in second, who started 8th, and then Lokomsky in 3rd. Jerry Van Bussel started 14th. He finishes in the top 4. Great result for him. Also for Liam Stevens in 5th and Legend Rosenberg 15th to 6th position. We've got Max Wiesel in 7th, Jan Harday 8th, Racing Tiaz 9th, and Richard Jacobs does get a point, but that point will be deducted as Bradley Holden will get his points back. He finished in P6, but he retired because he left the session early. So then we have Louis Welch, Bradley, Kian, Paul, Yost, who DNF, Daniel, who DNF to Tycho, and Andre also, who had a DNF in this race. It was a great race to see, and I think not race of the season, but it comes close.
That was pretty damn good. That was pretty damn good. Wasn't as chaotic as I thought it would be, actually. So again, just goes to show it had its moments, absolutely show, and I suspect that stewards are going to have quite a few incidents in that cap. But overall, considering the nature of this circuit, how close the barriers are at almost every corner, and how unfamiliar this track is, I think everybody did a pretty good job.
They did, and we're going to see if we can get a couple of people into the interview room. We'll see if we can get the top 3 in. Get Daniel, and we'll also tag in Lekomsky. Be good to have a chat with them indeed and see what they thought of that race, because I think it was really interesting, and can't see Simon.
I thoroughly enjoyed that. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And
Right.
Hopefully you lovely people watching along enjoyed it as much as we did.
Indeed, it was beautiful. It was action packed. We had anyone at this point fighting through. We had 4 or 5 drivers who could have actually took it. Depending on what happened down that final corner, Liam Stevens could have come through. He didn't, but the possibility was there because I think Bradley Holdham had a bit of an incident with, I think it was Daniel on the exit of turn 14. He lost him about 3 positions, so he was still on course for a P3. So big shame for Bradley to lose out on that podium. But F7R, they did a great strategy. They made lots of drivers. They had Legend started 15th, move up. Jerry started 16th. He moved up into the top 4. Yeah, the F7R did a really good strategy with their drivers. We're going to see if we can get anyone in for an interview quickly. It's not quite sure. And we have Tamashko in the waiting room, so we'll pop over to our interview screen for a second so we can drag the race winner up into the voice chat. Tamash, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hello. So, 2 victories in a row. Great job this race. It was quite hectic. I'm not sure for you, but for everyone else behind, it definitely was. But give us a talk through on those final laps. Did you think that Daniel had it, as he was over a second ahead as you exited turn 12?
Yes, like I didn't think that he will be flashing down the straight. So and I had like almost a full battery, and I knew that if I just press overtake on the whole straight, I can just be ahead of Daniel. And yeah, that was my goal, because I knew that even if he has slipstream on the last straight to the the start finish line, I knew that he won't pass me, because I still had 40% ERS after the last corner. So yeah, it was a really well managed race.
Yeah, and obviously taking pole as well. Obviously, I know you had a bit of an invalidation on your final lap. Do you think you could have extended that pole gap even more, or do you think you just just pushing limits a bit too much?
My outlap was kind of weak, because I got held up a little bit in the last sector, and I was trying to warm up my tires even more, and I was locking up a little bit, and my tires just got shit, if I can say that. And for the first sector, I just didn't have any turning. Like, I couldn't drift in turn 1 and turn 3, I think it is, or 4. Like, I just couldn't have the rotation what I had on my second run. But my second run was pretty alright. Like, the 3-3 is a respectable lap time. Yeah. Obviously not close what I was doing in practice, but if it's enough for pole, I'm happy. But I knew that on this track you don't really need pole to win.
Yeah.
Because even if you are the 4th car behind with DRS, you can be P2 probably. So it didn't really matter. Obviously for my motivation overall, it helped with the pole position, because yeah, I mean, it felt really good. But then I knew that, like, overall my race pace has been really good over the past races, and like I'm just still learning overall racecraft. I just want to learn and learn. But now, like, Kian made a mistake going literally into the wall, and yeah, and then Bradley probably had pretty much shit tires in the end because he pitted like lap 10, 11, and I pitted lap 13, and tire advantage is pretty big around here. So his tires were really dead. You could see that also on the last lap because he was like 9 tenths behind of Daniel. So yeah, I mean, it felt like it was slipping away, but in the end, when I saw flashing Daniel, then I just knew that yeah, not a win.
Yep. So great job.
I'm
Obviously,
happy. So yeah.
yeah, taking 2 victories in a row. I think that's obviously the best you can get. Anything from you, Chris, before we let Tomasz head off?
No, you asked what I was going to ask there. So yeah, a very well deserved rest, I think. Great stuff, Tomasz. Well done.
Thank you.
Yep. So thanks, Joyce. We'll hope to see you again next week for round 5.
You will.
So, we'll drag Daniel up. Daniel,
And
can you
have a
hear
good night, boys.
us? Good night.
Hello.
Hello again. So nice to see you again here. So another podium. Obviously, last time it was Denise. Here it's at PSGL F2. But yeah, again, great job finishing P2 in that race. Did you think you was going to get that victory after you burnt all that battery down towards turn 14 on the penultimate lap?
It was definitely an interesting one. It's very difficult with these last laps, especially here at Vegas with the monster straight. So it's also my first ever race here as well, so it didn't make it easier. So it was kind of what we went for, trying to just pull away as much as possible. Didn't get a win. Which obviously is unfortunate because we were in a great position, but at the same time it would have been very, very close if we did something different because there was like 3-4 people would have been close to each other, so you never know what would have happened in that case as well. So at least it was not that risky in terms of like DRS chicken on the last lap that we would have got wing damage and or been in the wall or something like that. So we went safe and tried to use the pace, which got us P2, not quite P1, but very solid race. Very solid race still because I got taken out lap 1. So I was 17th and went to P2. So yeah, very happy with the race. Race pace amazing, race management amazing as usual. So yeah, just lots of positives to take.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, going next week, we're at Austria. What are your thoughts about that track?
Quality's going to be very close. Basically, shortest lap time or shortest track in terms of lap times. The quality's going to be insane. This couple of like turn 1 is quite tricky to nail those. It's gonna can catch people out, so it's going to be. I wouldn't say. Well, we want to say RNG because we don't like it as drivers, and it's and it's very annoying with these cups. But yeah, it's going to be exciting, and again, there's a lot of overtaking opportunities at the track, so I think wherever you qualify, you're gonna have a good chance in the race. And I like doing races. I like to climb up positions in the races. So hopefully it's gonna be a good one. But hopefully as well I can do a good qualifying because it's always easier when you're at the front in the first place.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, again, well done, Peter. That's all from me. Anything from you, Chris?
No. Again, you've covered what I was going to cover. So, what a great race, great effort. It certainly was very, very entertaining to watch. Great stuff, Daniel. Well done.
Thanks.
Right, see you later. Have a good one. Bye.
See you.
Right. I saw a quick look on the internet, and I found out that Daniel Kaya, the new DNF with Tycho, he's wheel disconnected.
Oh dear.
That's why he went straight on into Tycho down at turn number 5. But back on the intermission screen, we come to the end of the racing. It's always great to see interviews of the drivers. I think, especially when we have, most of the time, we have at least 1 or 2 in. I think it's also great to see the drivers' perspectives of a race. We see things going on, but it's, we don't always get the behind the scenes. We don't always get to see the nitty gritty stuff that they all obviously think about and have to work with the whole race. But yeah, I think, again, round 4, it's going on to a great start here at F2 this season. The championship still little bit close. Obviously, Tomasz has pulled away, but compared to what we saw last season, it's a lot closer. I think by the time we got to round 5 last season, Jack and Mirko were about 20, 30 points ahead of the field. So, it's great to see this championship really close. Max Fiesel, very unfortunate for him to be in ninth position as well. Joost Noordijk missed out on a great haul of points. He could have also been right with Tamas Gale on that final lap. So many drivers annoyed and will be disappointed with that race, but others, lots of Tamas and as Thomas and Daniel, they're very happy with the performance they gave, and also the points they'll be able to take away from that. So obviously going around to next round at Austria. Obviously, Chris, I don't think we'll see you there next week because Dan should hopefully be well enough to be back. But do you expect to see chaos again?
Not as much as I expected to see today. We didn't see an awful lot of chaos today, in fairness, in F2. But Austria, a bit more forgiving as far as track, I was going to say track limits are concerned, but certainly runoff areas and things like that. Still a lot of grass, so if you do go off, you can still spell a bit of disaster. But it's much more of a fast-flowing circuit. It's a circuit that is more familiar to our drivers, so I don't expect chaos. What I do expect to see is yet more great racing from PSGL F2.
Definitely, I think this season that the standards have been better as well. Obviously, the issue there with Daniel and Tycho was the fact that someone's wheel broke. It wasn't people being silly and breaking it way too late. So I think the driving standards have increased incredibly this season. I think people have learned from last season. Be a bit more chilled out. Don't fight for the victory on lap one. Fight for it on the last lap. And to be fair, even on the last lap battle, we've had some great moves from people and great clean racing. So it's a good thing to see. Obviously, going into Austria, there'll also be some controversial things there because turn 3, very heavy uphill braking zone with that DRS. We always see people going a little bit too deep and taking someone with them, but it's normal. You can't be perfect every single lap of every single race. So yet again, everything from me and Chris tonight. Thank you all for joining, of course, and we'll be back next time for round 5 next week on Thursday for the Austrian Grand Prix. Good night.